All right, guys, welcome back. My name is Sherry Thacker, and here we are talking about your non-negotiable life, because your life is absolutely non-negotiable. I'm really excited today to introduce our guest. He is a former NFL linebacker. Wicked cool. Can't wait to hear his story. And the bummer is that he was suffering from chronic pain and inflammation of the joints, so much so that there were days he could barely even walk. And that kind of led him down a road of popping pills and eating poorly. And I guess one day woke up and said, you know what, I'm really tired of this kind of a lifestyle. I want to change it all around. So he dove really deep down into the paleo lifestyle, primal lifestyle, started a personal training business, and 15 years later, he's still rocking and rolling with a ton of clients every week, helping men and women lead very active lives. So I am super duper excited to introduce to you Mr. Joe Bernardo. Hi.
Hi, Sherry. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm
Thanks
super
for
excited.
joining me. Yeah. That's fantastic. Awesome. Listen, I know the first thing on everybody's mind is, what is it like to be a professional football player? We want the inside scoop.
Okay, so, well, it was a journey to the NFL without a question. I actually grew up as an overweight child, and I turned to sports fairly early because I wanted to gain acceptance from my peers as well as respect, and to build myself up, to get in shape. And I became very self-conscious at a young age because of my being overweight, etc. And football was like the perfect fit for me. I was actually built to play middle linebacker, and preparing for the sport got me into shape, and I was able to take my frustrations out in the field. It was the perfect fit. So fast forward, my coming out of high school, I had 0 scholarship offers, but all I wanted to do was play at the collegiate level. It was like my dream to put on that uniform and run out into the field and see what it was like. So I landed up walking on to a small university at Appalachian State. What this means, going out for the team without a scholarship and trying to earn one and find a spot on the roster. So after my first year, I earned half of a scholarship, and by my redshirt sophomore year, I was starting middle linebacker. And I went on to be a 3-year starter, and by my senior year, I was gaining a lot of attention from the NFL scouts, which was like this dream that was super far away. It's something you really don't imagine could happen, because only 1% of college athletes play in the NFL. But it was starting to become a realization for me at the end of my senior year, and I worked out for over 25 professional NFL scouts.
Wow.
And I was not drafted, but I was one of those guys that was signed as a free agent the day after the draft. Each team signs about a half dozen guys to come in and compete for a roster spot. And I was sitting by the phone in my college dorm room, and I got that call. One call, and one call only, from the San Diego Chargers that asked if I was still available. And I said, hell yeah.
Oh my God. You gotta bring us to that day. Bring us to that day. That call, like, you gotta tell us how you were feeling on that.
So I call it camping. I was camping out by my phone in my college dorm room, and I was sitting there, and my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I said, hello. And the man on the other line said, this is the scout from the San Diego Chargers, and we're calling to see if you're still available. And I said, yes, sir, I'm still available. He goes, okay, we don't have much to give you for a signing bonus, maybe about $1,000, but we like to bring you into camp to compete for a roster spot. And I hung up the phone, and I about jumped through the roof. And at the same time, I fell to my knees and just was overwhelmed with emotion, because just a year prior to, I had lost my father of a sudden heart attack right before my senior year. So it was like, from losing my father 1 year later, getting signed to an NFL professional team was just like, it was overwhelming. So fast forward, I went on to make the team that year, and it was amazing playing in the NFL. Getting paid to play a childhood game was the ultimate. The bright lights, the city of San Diego being in the limelight, and playing in front of 70, 80,000 people, and putting on that uniform, putting on that Charger uniform, that uniform that you looked at all through your childhood years and into your, my later years. But you just, again, it was just like a dream putting that on. And it was amazing. The NFL was awesome. And what can I tell you? Yeah. So
that's an incredible story. Now, obviously you're not playing anymore. So what was it like to make that decision or to have that experience for that to all go away?
Wow. So it's something you really never prepare for, is life after sports, or professional sports in my case. Even though as an NFL football player, you know that your job security is very little, and your day-to-day, your contract could be terminated at any time. And football was the love of my life. I mean, let's face it, I was playing football in the street when I was 10 years old till the NFL. And when my agent called me to tell me that the San Diego Chargers weren't going to bring me back, that they were going to move in a different direction, it was like taking the rug, pulling it right from out of me. I was flat on my back. It was that moment that, man, this is, it's over. It's over. And so it was a very difficult transition, and you've heard about it, and you've seen lots of guys deal with it in different ways, some good, some bad. I was, like I said, I was like flat on my back. I was laying on the couch for a couple of weeks, and I said to myself, man, you got to get up. You have to start moving and do something. And then I saw this weight room attendant position available at an exclusive island called Fisher Island off the coast of Miami Beach. And I said, well, man, I could do that while I stay in shape and hopefully get picked up by another team. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get picked up by another team. And then I started my personal training business on Fisher Island shortly after that.
You and I share the same kind of beginning as far as our training career goes, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20 years old. I've been in and out of a few businesses. And I was in a bit of a depression 6 months before just starting training. And I said, I'll just pick up a client or two and do that until I figure out what the next gig is. And a year later, I'm going around making more money than I ever had, running around in yoga pants and dancing around to music and having a great time with my clients. And I said, why aren't I doing this full time? And that's 10 years later.
Wow.
I mean, for myself, I have definitely found my passion. I have found something for me that is amazing. So it sounds like you did too.
Yes. So I was able to apply my knowledge of sports performance and strength and conditioning right away to that profession. And the business grew rather fast. I was working with CEOs of large companies, celebrities, as well as professional athletes. And it was like a snowball effect. So I quickly accumulated a lot of clients, and that thing was cranking and rolling really well. And here I was teaching all these people how to be fit, how to get healthy, how to attain their goals. I was traveling to different parts of the world with some of the high-profile clientele that I had. And all along, I was suffering myself from poor health and pain.
That's incredible. So how did that happen? All of a sudden, you're teaching people how to be this healthy person. Inside, you've got all this pain. You're struggling with your own nutrition. How did you go from being that teacher and then kind of transforming your life to being even better at what you do today?
So I had to really dig into what I thought all along was healthy. So I remember my coach used to always teach us the fundamentals before practice or before the game. We would practice those fundamentals on how to tackle properly and how to wrap up and grab cloth and footwork and so forth and so on. So I had decided to go back to the fundamentals of my health and applying principles of our primal ancestors into what I call today's modern jungle. And I was on the path of a poor health. I was taking over 20 Advil a day.
Oh my God.
I was in and out of doctor's offices, and I was booked for a multi-level disc replacement surgery.
Wow.
With high risks and low success rates.
Jesus.
And the surgeons weren't even sure that it was going to get me out of the pain. Mind you, some people around me have been saying, hey, Joe, you need to change what you're eating. Joe, you need to change some of your lifestyle factors to help heal yourself. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was from such a one-sided conventional background where all we took was pills for injury, and that's what we took to play on Sunday. What was to be medicated, and so to actually
let me know too, do I have the right perception that it could be very different today because there's so much more education out there, but probably back when you were playing, their education for nutrition was stuff as many calories down your throat as much as you can, and it doesn't matter what kind of calories they are so long as you bulk up and eat.
Right, so that's what it was. One of the things that led me down that path was poor nutrition for sports performance.
What were you eating at that time?
So my diet consisted of a lot of whole grains that I thought were good for me, a low-fat diet, and super high protein. Like I was cramming in as much protein as I could get and to try to put on as much muscle as I could during my playing career. And then after my playing career, well, I had the same mentality, not to mention all the toxic supplements and protein supplements that I was taking were just wreaking havoc on my body. So what I did was I dove into what I was eating and removing all the foods that were creating inflammation in my body, which in my case were grains and extremely high protein, and I had no fat in my diet. So
what about dairy?
So, well, yeah, I was probably eating dairy too. Oh, as well as sugar to a certain extent. Not like eating ice cream every day, but the sugar was there. Not to mention all the excess carbohydrates and excess protein that I was converting to glucose, which was creating loads of inflammation, right?
Right.
So by withdrawing all those foods that were wreaking havoc on my system and implementing high quality foods, and I got into really high quality food, such as grass-fed meats and good quality vegetables, and really I think most importantly was introducing the high quality fat that I was lacking, which contained the omega-3s, which are the natural anti-inflammatory properties to help reduce inflammation. So
what would you say is your exact specialty that you do with your clients now? What's your niche?
So right now I address the four fundamentals that I apply to myself. And number one is sleep. That's the other thing. I was averaging maybe 6 hours a night of sleep. Sleep always took a back seat to nutrition and exercise for me. I was like, I was even medicating myself to go and work out in the gym.
What were you taking?
So I would take I was taking close to 20 Advil a day.
To relieve the pain, yeah.
To relieve the pain, and then having the ability to go into the gym and work out so I could just release some frustration. Yeah. And then I would come out and I'd have ice on my back and all different areas, and then the pain would just, and I could hardly get up in the morning and go through that whole trying to, get up in the morning and heat up my back so that I can just function and get through a day of work.
And what kind of pain are you dealing with today?
I'm, for the most part, pretty pain-free. So
Yay!
I'm not going to say I don't have a single ache in my body, but man, compared to what I used to be like, the pain that I was suffering from acutely, mostly in my lower back, is gone.
Excellent.
Gone. And so
and do you attribute that to diet or to your fitness routine? Like, have you changed your fitness routine?
I attribute most of that to my diet, because I was suffering from a lot of arthritic, skeletal type referring pain. And yes, I do spend a lot of time on lumbar strengthening now and pelvic floor strengthening to make sure I'm nice and strong, my foundation. But that localized pain in my back, it felt like I was hit with a baseball bat. That's what the pain felt like. And it was just like all day, constantly sitting in the car, just getting out of the car, and it was endless. I went on. I have a pretty high tolerance of pain because of playing football. So I just went on and on and on till finally, at one point, I just looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, how can you go on living the rest of your life like this? I was like 32, 33 years old at the time. This is like 10 years ago. And then that's when I decided to turn to alternative methods to heal myself.
And, I think that gives my clients a lot of reassurance too, because I have some people who are dealing with some chronic pain when I first meet them. And just knowing that just by transforming their diet a little bit can dramatically reduce that pain. What would you say is, like, in the past 5 years or so, what have become those important key changes that you've made to your diet that have made all the difference? Okay,
so even in the last couple years, since turning 40, I've noticed my body changing as I get a little bit older. So I start adapting to different styles of eating. And even though I was able to heal myself back then, 10 years ago, fast forward, I still feel like I've learned a lot more over the last couple years as far as nutrition is concerned. So I've really dove in a lot to some of the really low carb, higher fat approaches, and really minimizing my protein intake. And this has really changed my relationship with food. This has worked very well for me, right? So I will emphasize that. I know with other people, it's differently. Everybody's a little bit different. So it changed my relationship with food, meaning I used to eat a lot. Even though I removed all those foods, my consumption of calories was still pretty high. And I come to realize that, man, I really don't need that much food to survive.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I was rolling around at about 220 pounds at 40 years old. And I said, buddy, you're not lining up for another snap anymore. And it's time to really change your relationship with food, because you're in for the long haul now. And so, so I really started consuming less. And by doing so, practicing some intermittent fasting. And
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yes, love it. It's also changed my relationship with food. I land up, even though my meals are, pretty calorically dense, overall I land up eating less over the course of the day. I have less sugar and hunger cravings, and I've even lost 20 to 25 pounds over the last couple years, and just really starting to dial in my health right now.
I have to interject here. I have to tell our audience that, first of all, I've met Joe in person and I've seen pictures of Joe, and he is smoking ripped hot. Okay, you have to go to his website because it's unbelievable. I was at a conference with him and I'm like, Oh my God, he's ripped. Whatever was doing, it was working. Okay, it was awesome. So now, do you interval between like a ketogenic lifestyle and a paleo, or is that what you would classify what you do?
Right. So it's quasi all of that, all of the above, and I've basically just become, like I teach others, my own health expert. So there will be maybe weeks at a time where I'll be pretty strictly ketogenic diet, where it's ultra low carb and super high fat. But again, depending on my level of activity, if I'm more active in the gym and lifting a lot of heavy stuff and exerting a lot more, then I tend to intake more carbohydrates. And but even without the heavy lifting, sometimes I just feel the need for more carbohydrates, and I'll cycle those in. But and then as far as the fasting goes, I play with that too. It's just been a great tool for me because, man, now I can go for hours at a time and not be thinking about when am I going to eat again, and revolving
And
around.
the less you eat, the less you need to eat, don't you find? Especially when you're on a high-fat diet, you don't feel that same kind of hunger anymore.
No, absolutely. And it's awesome because for all my life, I was eating too much. I was over consuming calories from a young age, especially in the abundance of carbohydrates as a young child, with eating cereal in the morning and sandwiches for lunch. And my father was Italian, so a lot of pasta in the evening. So, and man, it hit me. So, and then training for football and eating at the training table, it was like, yeah, consume as much as you can, whenever you can. And so changing that whole relationship with food was big for me. I teach my clients to do the same. They look at me like I'm crazy at the beginning, but by the end of it, they're like, wow.
It's a whole different world. It's a different world.
It's a different world. Changes you physically, but also a lot of the mental, psychological benefits as well.
And you end up saving money, I found. At the beginning, I was spending so much more on organic food, and next thing I know, my grocery bill went down the higher I spent on things that were more dense in fat.
Absolutely. I just had this discussion earlier this morning with somebody who is on a budget, and I said, well, yeah, we all are too. So I said, ultimately, you land up, yes, you will pay a little bit more for these high quality foods, but ultimately over the course of the day or the course of the week, you generally land up less.
Yeah.
So you end up spending less, and you are putting higher quality in your food. And I always use if you're putting premium gas in your car, you should be putting premium food in your body. So
100%. And let me ask you, okay, so anyone who follows me knows that I have this, this little addiction to Chicago mixed popcorn. That's my little go-to treat. You have to have something. What is it that you break away to and just splurge on a little bit?
So, it used to be that it's not even okay. I don't even fantasize anymore of the stuff that I used to, really, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I go for like a non-dairy ice cream at the farmer's market in Coconut Grove, which is made with coconut, as well as dates and some other and maple. I usually go cheat on like some high quality stuff because I know I'm gonna feel pretty sluggish and get a reaction from it anyway.
Right away, isn't it? Yeah. Right away, like you almost feel narcoleptic, like you have to have a nap right away after having sugar.
Sure. Yes, I've really dialed in my insulin sensitivity, and my cravings for sugar are so little. Maybe a little honey with some macadamia nut butter. That's pretty good stuff too. When you're feeling that need for a little bit of, something higher glycemic after Yeah.
Little celebration. So tell
Yeah.
me now, you have a very busy schedule. We were talking before the interview. You've got like clients just back to back to back. How do you manage your stress? Because I believe you're a dad, and your son is 3, right? Or
He's
4
three
now?
and a half. Yep. 3.5 years old.
So young boy, busy lifestyle. How do you manage that? Do you have a lot of stress in your life?
I guess for some of the other people that would maybe have my schedule would be like, yeah, I'm super stressed out. But I manage my stress. Well, number one, it starts with a good night's sleep. And so sleep is my priority. So no matter what I'm doing, things shut down at a certain time in the afternoon. My son is on the same page. And I recommend getting everybody on the same page so that it makes it a lot more easier to attain. So by attaining a good night's sleep, waking up in the morning, that sets the tone for my ability to manage my stress throughout the day. So my good night's sleep, which hopefully I get, and sometimes life happens and it's not ideal, but I would say I'm doing pretty well at that. And then preparing some high quality meals to take with me on the road or to work and so forth and so on. So having high quality meals to keep me feeling good throughout the day and not fluctuating blood sugar levels that would create all this anxiety and feel even more stressed out. And I train when I exercise mostly outdoors. Fortunately,
Okay.
I live in
San
sunny
Diego, right?
No, actually I live in Miami.
Oh, right, Miami, right.
Right. So I live in sunny South Florida, Miami. So the weather is good for that most of the year. So I get outside. I'm outside with nature. I usually work out
Awesome.
by the water, and my son comes with me, so he benefits from that as well.
Nice.
And
Do you use them as weights? I use my son as weights.
I do. We do squats and lunges and weighted pull-ups and push-ups. And so we're both benefiting from that. I exercise intelligently, so I'm not over-exercising, so I don't create more stress on my body. So that's another tool that I use for managing stress. So I have sleep, I have my good quality nutrition, I'm exercising intelligently, and I'm outside. I get in touch with nature, and I try to make it fun.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm busy, but I've come to the realization that I can't get everything done in a week like I'd want to, and I've just come to the acceptance of it's just going to take a little bit longer, but
That's right.
it'll get done.
I think that's a key takeaway right there. That so many people feel like it's got to be done now. It's got to be done yesterday. It's no good unless I do everything back to back. And I think that's a big one, because we got to try and take off some of the stress that we put on ourselves. I think we put a lot of stress just all by ourselves, with the noodle. So what I want to ask you is, what is that key message from your specialty, from what you're teaching your clients? What do you want our listeners today to really have as Primal Joe's key message today?
So really is getting back to basics, practicing the fundamentals that I've mentioned, which is good quality sleep, good quality nutrition, and exercising intelligently, and managing your stress efficiently. Applying those, if you're suffering from some type of sickness or immune deficiency or even chronic injury, before going down the path of medications and toxic supplements, apply these fundamentals on a regular basis and stick with them. So when that means making sleep a priority, that just doesn't mean one night out of the week. Well, I tried to, I turned my lights down when the sun went down last night and I still couldn't sleep, Joe. Okay, well, you need to do that every day.
Yeah, create the habit.
That I go, when you walk into the gym for the first time and you haven't exercised, or you walk outside to run for a mile, what's it like?
Yeah.
It's tough. So when you're preparing yourself for sleep, the first night is not going to be ideal. But if you keep working at it and keep working at it, eventually you'll become a better sleeper. Your body will produce more melatonin and et cetera. You'll be able to fall asleep sooner, stay asleep, et cetera, et cetera. So it's practicing. My main message is practicing the fundamentals more regularly.
Yeah.
And that ultimately will lead to a healthier life. And if you're doing that and you still are having issues, then it would be from then to seek additional help as well.
I'm a big advocate for sleep as well. I really feel that that's the top of the pyramid, that once you get sleep under control, you're going to manage your stress more efficiently. If you're managing your stress, you're going to be able to deal with your food and your fitness after that. We speak the same language on that. I'm very passionate about creating sleep rituals and making sure you have a proper habit, getting to bed 8, 9 o'clock at night. I go to bed at 9, 9:30 at night, right at the same time as my son does. I'm up at 4, 4:30. I practice the same routine when I go to sleep. So by and large, I sleep pretty well. And I think that's a lot of the key to dealing with anxiety, depression. It's a huge list that sleep can solve, and without medication, for sure. So Joe, if people wanted to get in touch with you, or if they wanted to, do you do your services online? Like, do people have to go be in Miami to work with you, or can they work with you online? How do you offer your services?
Absolutely. So first of all, I have a website, which is www.primaljoe.com, and you can get in touch with me there. I also am on Facebook at primaljoe.com, which I have a lot of information out there on what I'm about and what I believe. And Joe at primaljoe.com is my email. And yes, I do work with people all over the world online, via Skype, or now after this awesome Zoom interview, I definitely want to start
It
utilizing.
works well, right? It's good.
Oh, it's 100 times better. It's for sure.
Yeah.
So yes, that's how people can get in touch with me, and I can help.
That's awesome. Joe, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Your story is so inspirational, and I really enjoyed listening to the up and then the down and then the up again. It sounds like a movie almost in motion. So
well, thank you very much. I'm using that because I want to help. Number one, it's true. Number two, I want to help more people get healthy. My goal of creating primaljoe.com was to help family and friends get healthy, like I did naturally, and then just reach more people.
awesome. So just before we close up here, my platform is that your life is absolutely non-negotiable. Your health is non-negotiable. Joe, tell our audience, what is that one thing relative to your healthy, fit lifestyle that is absolutely non-negotiable for you? The
one thing.
What's that one thing?
Man, I'm just gonna have to say in my book, it's sleep. It's just non-negotiable. That just, for me, it sets the tone of how I'm going to eat the next day, how I'm going to teach people the next day, what type of person I'm going to be the next day.
Totally.
That's, for me, been the big game changer in helping me to become a better professional, a better communicator, a better person, even a better father, et cetera, et cetera. So I got to start with that, and that's like my numero uno.
That I'm so on board with you there, especially that key takeaway of what kind of person you're going to be the next day. Your sleep will absolutely define that. So, Joe, I really want to thank you for coming on the show today. So much fun. I really enjoyed the information, and I sure hope you'll come back again sometime in the future.
I would love to, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you.